Wikipedia Rabbit Hole Episode 2 during the Houston Texans versus Oakland Raiders game in Mexico. I was watching the Raiders-Texans game on Monday Night Football. It was in Mexico City at the Azteca Stadium, and I was so amazed by their stadium. I'm like, man, how much money does Mexico have? So I looked it up, and I discovered that they're 15th in the world in nominal GDP. Now, granted, they're 62 in GDP per capita, but I had no idea that Mexico was 15th in the world in nominal GDP. They have a $1 trillion economy, one of 15 $1 trillion economies. Impressive. So at this point, I was feeling real good about North America. I was like, man, Canada, Mexico, United States, how do we fare as North America versus the whole world GDP by continent? So I looked it up, discovered that Asia is first with 25 trillion, but second is North America with 21.7 trillion, followed by Europe with 19 trillion, South America with 3.6, Africa with 2.2, and then Oceania with 1.4. And then obviously Antarctica has 0. And Oceania, this was the next tidbit that I didn't know. I always referred to Australia as Australia. I didn't know that it's more properly referred to as Oceania. And at 1.4 trillion for Oceania, Australia, that puts it in perspective how well Mexico is doing as far as their GDP being at 1 trillion. So you say, wow, 1 trillion. Could they sustain a professional NFL expansion franchise? I don't know, call them the Mexico City Aztecs. Could they sustain an actual team? So you look up the population of Canada, USA, and Mexico, North America, and compare. So you say USA, 324 million, making up 56% of the population. Canada has 36 million, which is 6% of the population. And they were talking about moving the Buffalo Bills to Canada with just 36 million people. And then you have Mexico with 121 million. It's 21% of North America. But then I started looking at these numbers and I said, wait a minute, 56 plus 6 plus 21, those numbers don't add to 100. Are there other countries in North America? So then I discovered there's 41 countries in North America. What? Say what? 41 countries? Holy cow. So then I'm like, all right, well, what's the next trivia tidbit? So after the United States, Mexico, and Canada, what is the most populated country of North America? And the answer is Guatemala, followed by Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, and so on. But I had no idea. I mean, of course, some people would say this is Central America or the islands, but Central America is not a continent. North America is, and the islands have to belong to something. North America is the most logical explanation. So 41 countries in North America. Imagine if we had to learn that in school. So we looked at GDP by continent. Then I said, all right, well, let's take a look at population by continent. What is the most populated and all the other? How do all 7 continents rack up against each other? So Asia, of course, is number 1 with 4.4 billion, which is nearly 60% of the world's population. And the world's population is 7.4 billion people. Followed by Africa at number 2. This was surprising. I had no idea 1.2 billion people live in Africa, and they make up nearly 17% of the world's population. Europe came in at number 3 with 739 million for nearly 10% of the population, followed by North America at number 4 with 579 million or nearly 8% of the population. South America comes in at number 5, 422 million and a half. That's roughly 6%. Followed by Australia, aka Oceania, with nearly 40 million, and that's 0.5% of the population. And then finally, Antarctica, which surprisingly had 4,490 people. I didn't even know they had mailboxes to receive the census report. Imagine being the mailman going to Antarctica. And at this point in the game, my Facebook timeline was lighting up with people protesting the North Dakota pipeline and the Sioux. And so I thought, man, what's the population of Native American Indians in the United States? And I discovered that their growth rate from 2000 to 2010 is 27%. They grew from 4.1 million to over 5.2 million. They added over 1 million to their population in 10 years. Impressive. Now consider the population in 1776 of the original 13 colonies. It was 2.5 million. So the current Native American population is twice that of the 1776 colony population. Hey, I'm just trying to find something positive in this climate of political negativity. The NFL game in Mexico is what spawned this Wikipedia rabbit hole, and I was very impressed with Mexico's hosting of the event. I enjoyed the U.S. and Mexico's national anthem. In fact, I had never even heard the Mexican national anthem. I finally heard it. It was very nice. Their stadium was great. It was the first game played in Mexico since 2005 when the 49ers played the Cardinals. people were nice. They didn't boo the U.S. national anthem. I was very appreciative of that. The stories presented during the broadcast were heartwarming. I also appreciated the news of the tickets to the game selling out in minutes, gone in under a half hour. NFL should really consider Mexico for a franchise. The Mexico City Aztecs. Really, it would do so much for relations between the U.S. and Mexico. And that $1 trillion GDP would definitely go up and possibly make North America take out Asia for number one spot. Of course, if they did that, the N in National Football League would then have to be the North American Football League, and maybe Canada will get a team too. Oh, and let's not forget about the other 41 countries. Okay, well, yeah, I think National Football League sounds about right, but it would be real interesting if there was a Mexico City Aztecs football team. Well, thanks for your time through this journey into my mind down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, episode 2, and I'll see you next time.